Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.
The following podcast is a deep, shallow dive production.
And you're going to love it.
Okay, let's go.
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I'd never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
That is the first time I have ever heard him swear.
That they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
I actually do understand that, President Trump. All right, hey, what's up, everybody? Happy Wednesday. How's it going? How are you doing? Are you keeping up? I mean, what the... Wait a second. When did I last talk to you guys? Oh my gosh, I talked to you guys on Friday, and then President Trump authorized the bombing of 3 nuclear plants on Saturday. Sunday, it looked like we were going to go to war. And then later Sunday night, there's all kinds of chatter on the internet that the bombing of those 3 nuclear sites in Iran was kind of staged and fake, and that Iran had already removed everything from there. And then Monday, Iran attacked what was it? It was like a U.S. base in either Qatar or Syria. And here's the weirdest part of that. They told the U.S. they were going to attack. I think they sent like 100 missiles. No damage. Well, maybe there was some damage to like mountains or something, but luckily no deaths. So Monday, I think everybody thought we are absolutely going to war and we are starting World War III. They put up their World War III decorations. And then, let me see if I remember this correctly. Later in the day on Monday, actually, maybe not much happened Monday night. Oh, no, actually, you know what? So Monday, the narrative started forming. Oh, my God. All right, I'm gonna give you guys the full scoop on this. So Monday, the narrative started forming that, oh, maybe we should enact a regime change. And by regime change, if you don't know what that means, they're pretty much talking about getting rid of the Islamic Ayatollah. His name is Khamenei, as they call it. So they talked about getting rid of him. Trump tweeted something. I will say, this is funny. It is so obvious to me now when there is coordinated social media among conservative influencers, because I guarantee you these guys are all on the payroll. They're probably all getting like, I don't know, 10 grand a month retainers, and somebody from the press office. And I bet you they're all part of like a Signal chat group. Remember that Signal app? It was the one that Pete Hegseth or Mike Waltz or one of those guys, quote unquote, accidentally let in a reporter from The Atlantic, I think it was, so into that chat, and then they basically were talking about bombing Yemen. I seriously bet you there is a Signal chat group, and then you've got conservative influencers, and I'm talking people like, I don't know if you guys follow this or not, but if you do, you'll know these names. Charlie Kirk, Dave Rubin, Ben Shapiro. Gosh, there's probably a whole host of them that are like, they're basically kind of like the conservative cucks, I like to call them. And those guys, I guarantee you, they absolutely are on that distribution list, because it's hilarious. They'll all start creating content and tweeting about the same topic, and I keep track of them. I'm actually going to start to do reaction videos to them. That should be pretty funny. But So Monday, they were all tweeting about regime change. Charlie Kirk posted like, should America be part of regime change? So they're honestly conducting focus group studies through Twitter, through Instagram, and through Facebook to gauge the reaction to maybe do the next move. I'm not even kidding. I think that's happening. And let me explain why I think that. So when they bombed the nuclear facility on Saturday, you really had a divided country. And I guess more importantly, you had a divided Republican Party. And then to drill that down even further, whomever you consider part of the MAGA group, that MAGA group was divided. So I think overall, besides a few like Democratic shill warmongers and then media personalities like Van Jones, dude, that guy annoys the shit out of me. I'm going to start going at people. I really am. I'm going to start doing some kind of very polite, but I'm going to start picking people's narratives apart because, man, I see them so clearly. I really do. So besides a few Democratic shill warmongers who I'm sure are on somebody's payroll, the Democrat side, I have to say for the most part, opposed the bombing of the 3 nuclear sites. Now, here's something crazy to me, and honestly, I forget if I talked about it before or not, but where are the huge names in the Democratic Party? And maybe I'm missing it. So if anybody has seen this, send me a smoke signal and let me know that, hey, Ray D, you're just missing it because maybe you don't follow these guys. But like, where's Barack Obama? Where's Michelle Obama? Where's Biden? Where's Jill Biden for that matter? Where's Kamala Harris? Where's Tim Walz? Where's Nancy Pelosi? Where's Chuck Schumer? Where is Hakeem Jeffries? None of these people were outraged. And again, I might have missed it. So if I did miss it, please let me know and I will absolutely state a correction on the next episode. But think about the fact that for 4 years, if not 8 years, and definitely for the last 6 months leading up to this election, those were all the people that called Trump Hitler. I mean, they really referenced Hitler. And by the way, a pro tip, anytime anybody compares anybody to Hitler, that's probably your litmus test that they're trying to create that narrative, and that quite frankly, it's the opposite is probably exactly true. So think about those guys. I mean, I don't feel like finding the clips, but there's clips of Obama referencing Hitler with Trump. There's clips of Kamala Harris referencing Hitler to Trump. So now that you could make an argument that he's kind of acting like Hitler, like now you could make that argument. You could say, wow, he's gone rogue, which to an extent, I think he has a little bit. They're nowhere to be found. Like they're nowhere to be found. And not only are they not calling him Hitler, they're not saying anything. Like I genuinely hear nothing from any of the Democratic top brass. Now, again, I could be wrong. Maybe I'm just not seeing it. So if I am wrong, please send that to me. Ooh, I did that all in one breath. Okay, the only 2 I am hearing from is Bernie Sanders and then AOC. And so those 2 are speaking up a little bit, speaking out against Trump and all that. But I don't know. I find that weird. I find that weird that the top Democratic leadership is not saying anything. And then also Gavin Newsom. Obviously Gavin Newsom and Trump got into it over all the ICE raids recently in Los Angeles. But I really didn't hear Gavin come out and say anything about bombing of Iran. And, in many ways, I mean, that's a declaration of war. It pretty much is. But we're not at war. This is why I think there's so much going on in the background, and I'll talk about that in a second. But again, it's like the public gets so whipped into a frenzy by what's happening at the surface and the announcements that are getting made. And honestly, my mom's like that. And I told her, I'm like, Mom, do you really think they're going to lead with the truth? Like, do you really think they're going to come out and tell you step by step exactly what they're doing? No, they're floating different theories out there. And to be honest with you, everything they do in the public eye, they're probably doing the opposite behind the scenes. I'm not even kidding. So if they're saying we're going to attack, behind the scenes, they're probably plotting out a deal. If they say we're working towards a deal, probably behind the scenes, they're plotting out some type of attack. Actually, if you think about what happened on Saturday night, that's pretty much exactly what happened. Because on Friday, Trump literally came out on Friday and said, I am going to take the next 2 weeks. I'm going to take 2 weeks to think about what our next move is. And then all of a sudden, on Saturday at like 5 o'clock, they announced that they bombed the 3 nuclear plants. And then here's the funniest part. I think it was either within 24 hours or maybe even sooner. It was like, okay, everybody, parks closed, moose outside should have told you. Like they were all of the sudden, they were like, okay, we bombed them. They exploded. They obliterated. Nobody's ever bombed nuclear sites the way we have. We bombed those nuclear sites. I got to get my Trump impersonation down. That would really come in handy. But if you kept up with his tweets, I mean, he was congratulating himself, which is very on brand, by the way. But they acted like it was all over, right? And then on Monday, all of a sudden, Iran attacks. And then everyone's like, oh no, now we are going to war. It's like a ping pong match. It really is like a ping pong match. And so we basically get to like Monday night and it's looking like things are bad. And then all of a sudden a ceasefire is announced. Iran and Israel have agreed to a ceasefire that starts in 6 hours. First of all, that's like super weird. And what was weirder was they said Iran and Israel have agreed to a ceasefire. Iran will ceasefire in 6 hours. Israel will ceasefire in 12 hours. So, like, why did they get an extra 6 hours of bombing? Like, that made no sense. But again, the entire conservative wing starts tweeting out, see, we told you, the president of peace, blah, 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 blah. And then the next day, which was Tuesday morning, basically, so yesterday, that's when Trump got that interview as he was getting on Air Force One. And again, I mean, I've never heard the guy swear. I legitimately have never heard him say a curse word, let alone the F-bomb. And he dropped the F-bomb. So I don't know, man, what is really going on? What is theater? What is the truth? I honestly don't know. I really don't know. But I will tell you, let me talk about a couple scenarios and then I'll also talk about just some narratives that I'm seeing. So that first narrative, like I told you, that maybe if you want to pay attention to, if you see social media influencers, conservative or liberal on the other side, if everybody's basically saying the same thing, then they're getting talking points from someone and someone in the administration. And then that is like a coordinated effort to create public perception. Okay, that's narrative number one. The other, not narrative number one, but that's observation number one. The other thing I've observed is, they are bringing, so the Shah's son, if you remember the Shah of Iran, I think I finally can do my episode on Iran. This is so funny. I've been very hesitant to talk a lot of stuff about Iran. I really have, mainly because we still have a bunch of family over there and, there's still connections there. And again, I don't think this podcast is on anyone's radar, let alone the IRGC's radar. But I don't know. I just was like, there's enough things to talk about. I don't really need to talk about that too much. But I think I can do a pretty informative episode that is really just fact-based and kind of helps you understand, quite frankly, what happened to Iran starting in like the late 50s when the Shah was put into power. Okay. So I think I will be able to do that. And I think it'll be very informative and you'll really understand a lot about the region. But anyway, so he has a son. His name is Reza Pahlavi. So his son has been exiled. I don't know if he lives in New York or LA or DC. I think he lives in DC actually. And long story short, I mean, I can't say I think very much of this guy. I think he's kind of weak. I don't know. I've never really liked him. I've never really liked how he carries himself, conducts himself. And this is gonna sound crazy and bad and maybe stupid, but like, I don't like the stuff he posts on Instagram. And like, I told that to somebody, a Persian friend of mine, and they're like, dude, that's like none of your business, which is totally true. It is none of my business. And he said, like, who cares? Let the guy live his life. I go, hey, I get that. But like, I think when you are the son of the former Shah of Iran, I don't know, man, that comes with some responsibility. It does. And I don't think it's appropriate to post the same type of pictures that a regular, 50 something year old Iranian guy posts. I don't know. I really do feel that way. I feel like you need to, I'm going to quote a line from, if Brad Hershey's listening, he'll have to tell me who, I think his guy's name. Oh, I remember. I can't even believe I remember this. This was a guy that Hirsch went to high school with. I think his name was J.R. Hayes. He was like a super good baseball player, if I'm remembering correctly. Man, if I remembered that correctly, Hirsch, let me know because that is ridiculous that my brain can't remember what I had for lunch yesterday, but I can remember that. Anyway, I believe his name was J.R. Hayes, and I remember he would say this, and then in turn, I started saying it. He would say, you have to carry yourself in a championship manner. I kind of love that. You have to carry yourself in a championship manner. And I try to carry myself in a championship manner. But I think the son of the Shah, I don't know, maybe I'm totally wrong about this, but I think he needs to carry himself in a championship manner. So, like, I don't need to see bro in a tank top flipping burgers at a Saturday cookout. You're welcome to do that, but I don't really feel that should get captured on Instagram. Like, I don't need to feel like you're everyday normal guy. I don't know. Maybe I'm totally off with this. I feel like if I was the son of the Shah, which I was the son of our dad, and our dad was just as good as the Shah, by the way. Man, our dad, I'm not kidding. It is quite a shame he did not take a major role in Iranian politics. He would have been a boss, man. He really would have been a boss. Our dad, first of all, was so geopolitically savvy. And then secondly, he just had I don't want to say an angry edge to him, but I'll just say it like this. When we were growing up, I mean, our dad barely ever laid a hand on us. I can't even remember him ever laying a hand on us. But I will tell you what he did do. He would give us this look. And I swear to God, I'd almost rather have had him slap me in the face than give me that stare. Like, he would give this look. And like, you would want to just crawl into a hole 50 feet deep to not be on the receiving end of that look. Like, that look was just, I mean, it was so intense and so like, and I'm not talking about the I'm disappointed in you look. It was a look as if like he was going to kill you, but obviously he never did. I don't know. I'll have to see if my brother agrees on that one. But man, I think the thing that kept me in line as a kid more than anything, and our cousins lived with us. So if our cousins are listening, you'll have to tell me if you feel the same way. The thing that kept me in line more than anything as a kid was that look. That look that our dad would give. I was like, I do not want to do anything to invoke that look. I'm not even kidding. I think it was like that into his maybe late 70s, early 80s. And then I was like, he's old. I can handle that look now. I really do. I remember one day I was like, you know what? I can handle that look. All right, Dad, it's over. Your run is over with that look of death practically. But anyway, he had that. And my point of all that is our dad was a tough dude, man. He was tough. He really was. He was tough as nails, man. He was tough as nails. Oh, God, I am not remotely as tough as our dad, and my brother definitely is not. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. All right. Where was I going with that? Anyway, all right. So the Shah's son, they are parading this guy everywhere. They are parading this guy everywhere. He's on Fox News. I think he was on CNN as well. So I found that weird that he was on, right-leaning Fox News and then liberal-leaning CNN. Thank you, Greg Stoker. But like they were parading this guy everywhere. And to me, again, let's make this episode about recognizing narratives and recognizing PR publicity, as well as recognizing maybe next geopolitical moves. But the fact that they were parading Reza Pahlavi everywhere, to me, I was like, okay, they are setting up a regime change. They are absolutely setting up something to where this is going to be the guy. They're going to get rid of the regime. And honestly, I still think that's going to happen. I really do. If you said, hey, is there going to be regime change? I think there is. I really do. I think it's going to happen. I haven't figured out exactly how yet, but they basically were testing the waters to see what the Iranian people inside Iran, the Iranian people in the diaspora, remember that term? I think they were wanting to see how people would react. And I think outside of Iran, most people are pretty good with it. Inside of Iran, I don't know. I don't know about inside of Iran. From what I understand, I don't think a lot of people inside the country care for him very much. But anyway, that's another big observation I'm seeing. If you start watching the news or your social media feed, you might start seeing the son of the Shah, basically talking about how the regime must go and all this. So that was another thing I was seeing. And then, like I said, you had conservative influencers basically like on Twitter asking their audience, do you think that there should be regime change in Iran? You know what I mean? So like when you start seeing that stuff, I literally think they are leveraging Twitter and Instagram to do like informal focus groups to sort of see where people would react on things. And so pay attention to things as we go forward. By the way, even Trump himself on his Truth Social and then Twitter said it's not politically correct to say regime change, which, by the way, I thought that was funny because it's like, bro, when have you ever been politically correct? But he said, I know it's not politically correct to say the term regime change, but if the government of Iran can't make Iran great again, so they're hijacking the MEGA, make Israel great again, make Iran great again, and then maybe we should do regime change. So they basically floated that idea out. And I will tell you this, I think pretty much all of the Iranian people living outside of Iran were super happy. Like I know my mom was, and I know all her friends were. And they were all like giddy schoolgirls that, oh my God, Trump's going to do regime change. Trump's going to do regime change. And then literally 6 hours later, yesterday, he comes out and says, no, we're not going to do regime change. No, it's too messy. It's none of our business, blah, blah, blah. And so who knows? And by the way, that literally put like every 65 to 85-year-old Persian woman for sure and man into a depression, including our mom, who was like super upset and is like, I don't understand this guy. I'm like, Mom, nobody does. Nobody does. Just join the club. So anyway, that's another thing to keep an eye out for. But I honestly do think it's going to happen. I do think, I don't know, for some reason, I think geopolitics runs in cycles. And so this faction of Iranian, I guess, leadership has been in this cycle for 46 years. That's a long time. And then the Shah was in cycle from like 53 to 79. So that's like 26, 53 to 79, 26 years. So I don't know, maybe it's time for a change. But the X factor in that is going to be, it's really going to be China. I was thinking it was Russia and China, but then if you listen to the podcast episode with Breaking News, Ethan, he talked about how Russia, they have their hands full right now. They have their hands full with basically probably trying to like annex all of Ukraine. And for some reason, I feel like that's what Putin's trying to do. Therefore, I don't think that Russia really cares that much. So I think it's going to be really about China. And so here is something that might happen. Maybe Trump, Putin, and Xi Jinping get together and they say, okay, let's carve this up. And Trump says to Xi Jinping, you can have Taiwan finally, and you can make that officially part of China again. We'll figure out something about the semiconductor business there, but you can have Taiwan. So China gets Taiwan, right? Putin takes Ukraine. I think that one's kind of a gimme anyway. And then Trump says, okay, we're going to enact regime change, and then we're going to get Iran. And now all of a sudden, China has what they want, which is Taiwan. Russia has what they want, which is Ukraine. And then the United States and Israel, I really do think of those two together. They have what they want, which is Iran and the oil and resources that come with that. And maybe, I just figured this out. Maybe then they team up so those 6 entities become something, and Trump basically pulls out of NATO, and the relationship with England, France, Germany, Italy, Canada, Spain, all the Western European NATO countries, maybe that's done. Maybe that's fractured. And now all of a sudden you have the United States, China, Russia as the 3 big dogs, and then Israel, Iran, Ukraine, and Taiwan as like the secondary level. All right. 27 minutes of me yapping. I had a bunch more clips for you guys, but honestly, how about I do those I'm going to try to come back on Friday. By the way, Thursday, I am going to air a interview with probably my most famous guest so far, although you guys might not know him, but this guy's legit. His name is James Corbett, and he runs something called the Corbett Report, and he's been doing it, I think, since 2007. This guy is exceptional. He is absolutely exceptional as somebody that really has broken down so much geopolitical stuff over the years. I know my brother likes him a lot, and then my buddy Brandon loves him. Dude is super legit, super nice guy. He's an English teacher that lives in Japan, but he runs his website on the side, and I think he does really well because he has a huge fan base. But we had an incredible conversation. And I will tell you this. Well, you know what? I'm going to let you guys decide for yourself. But I think your boy kept up with him. I really do. I've learned a lot of shit, man. I have learned a lot of shit over the past, whatever, how long it's been, 18 months of doing this podcast. I'm not kidding. Holy shit. I didn't know any of this stuff. I really didn't know any of this stuff. I mean, I knew it on maybe a very small surface level, but that's about it. Anyway, I'm going to try to get that out on Thursday. All right. Keep the comments coming in. Keep the questions coming in. By the way, some of you put comments on the actual episode through Spotify. I always do see those, and I try to reply. So you're welcome to do that. Otherwise, again, if you know me personally, you're welcome to hit me up. However, you probably have my cell phone number then. If you don't know me personally, you are welcome to find me on Facebook or Instagram, either at Ray Deustar or at Deep Shallow Dive. I'd actually recommend you follow both. But if you listen to this podcast, you're welcome to DM me at Ray Deustar, because I'm not even going to lie. I can't even keep up with the DMs for at Deep Shallow Dive anymore. I really can't even keep up with that. There's like I'll wake up in the morning and there's maybe a few thousand DMs in there, and I can't even read them. I don't even have time. So anyway, that was not a flex. That was legitimate truth. I know they come off as flexes, but I'm telling you, they're not. That one's not. Well, you know what? The other day when I said the millions of views, that was a little bit of a flex. I'm not even gonna lie. But the DM one is not a flex because I'd hate for somebody who actually takes time to listen to this podcast to send me a DM to the @DeepShallowDive, and then I never reply, and then I look like a dick because I am not a dick. All right. On that note, call spade a spade, call your parents. We'll see you on Friday. And James Corbett Report Thursday. All right.
That was a great way to end it.
This episode was brought to you by the new book, Deep Shallow Dive Into You, available now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hardcover and paperback. Don't forget to sign up for our new mailing list on our website at deepshallowdive.com.